Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Josh Chapman of Konvoy Ventures. Josh, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So what was your background before investing in early stage companies?
So I started my career in finance. I was working at BlackRock and at Morgan Stanley, and then decided that I wanted to use those skills a little bit early on in the life cycle of a company. And so I wanted to get into venture and decided to launch my own venture firm.
Well, that's great. So what excites you right now?
Right now, we are entirely focused on investing into the technology startups behind video gaming and esports. And that sector is a really exciting place to be right now. There's also, a large need for focused investment capital on this industry. And we're incredibly excited about the future of video gaming. We've gone from 100 million people in 1995 that play video gaming to now north of 2.6 billion people that play video games. That breaks down between about 2.1 billion on mobile, 1.1 billion on PC, and about 700 million on console. And so the future is very bright for this industry. And so we love investing in the space.
Well, that's great. It's a great market and great industry that's growing tremendously. It looks like you're in the right spot for it. So for those investors that want to invest in video gaming and esports, what's your advice to them before they write that first check?
Yeah, so there are three primary ways that you can get exposure to video gaming as an investor today. One, you can invest into a video game itself. Think trying to find the next Fortnite, Halo, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Dota, and the list goes on and on. That has become a world of $10 to $100 million bets. So it's a very expensive game. That said, that you can get a massive payout out of it. So that's one. The second way is you can buy an esports team. Over the last 5 years, there's been an explosion of especially family offices putting a lot of capital into the professionalization and structures behind the competitive scene of video gaming. For context, almost 500 million people worldwide watch esports. The average age of an esports viewer in North America is 32 years old. 45% of gamers are women, and 35% of esports viewers are women. And so this sector has attracted the attention of a lot of large capital. So a lot of capital is chosen to effectively buy the Dallas Cowboys of esports. And so that's the second way that you can invest in this space, is by buying a team. The third way, and this is what we focus on here at Konvoy Ventures, is we focus on investing into the technologies behind video gaming. So think investing into the picks and shovels and infrastructure of this space. A couple of really great examples of this include companies like Unity or Unreal, Skills, Twitch, and the list does go on and on. It's an incredibly fast-moving space. So again, in summary, it's you can buy into a video game, you can buy an esports team, or two, you can essentially invest in the picks and shovels.
Well, great. So what's your advice for people that are running startups in those sectors? What do you tell them to think about before they join in?
It depends on which part of the ecosystem you want to jump into. If you're a game developer who's trying to build a game, you want to build up your skills in graphic design or game design or back-end or front-end development and story creation, narrative. There's a lot of different factors that go into the development of a video game that are not too dissimilar to what you're seeing in the creation of a movie, like in Hollywood. And oftentimes, these games are way more complex than a 2-hour film. So that's one, is go get advanced degrees, make sure that you're at the top of your game. The second part in the esports team world, that mimics a lot of the sports world, being a sports agent or a coach or a mental health professional or being a COO of a professionally competitive organization. A lot of the same skill sets that you would have to go into a career in sports are directly applicable to being in the professional scene. Also, you can be a professional esports athlete. That is incredibly hard, but there are many other ways to have a career in that. The third way is on the startup side. So that's where we focus the most. These professionals who are starting companies in video game technology are often highly technical. They've likely been in the industry for anywhere from 3 years to 25 years. And they're usually building something that solves a major pain point in the industry. That's not too dissimilar from any other area of startup investing or startup creation as an entrepreneur. Yet in video gaming, a key understanding of the intricacies of this community is really important. And that community is now over 2 billion people.
So how is the industry evolving in these sectors? What changes do you see coming up?
There are three major changes that are happening in video gaming right now. One is video games are now no longer just about games. This is about the future of social interactivity in digital and real worlds. I fully expect that the next social network is going to be in a video game. Similar to the way people go to Fortnite to just hang out, people are going to spend time in video games today. This is not a future thing. This is a today thing. People are spending time in video games with their friends as an alternative way of being social. Second is video games are now not just one-way media, but two-way media. In 2018, 52 billion hours was watched on Netflix. On YouTube gaming, 50 billion hours was watched. So they're pretty much almost exactly the same. If you go down to the next tier, on Hulu, I believe it's 9.4 billion hours was watched in 2018. On Twitch, 9.3 billion hours was watched. The takeaway from that is that video gaming is now no longer just about games. This is about a two-way digital media entertainment industry, which is competing and about to very quickly surpass the largest OTT platforms on the planet. The third thing that's changing is video game technology is becoming much more complex as we get closer and closer to a Ready Player One world. Ready Player One is a great book that was turned into a movie, and that is a reality that we're moving closer and closer towards. Some people can talk about how that might not be a good thing, and I would probably agree, but in many ways it is a reality that we need to be keenly aware of that does have certain benefits. And that is something to definitely hone in on, lock into, and build.
It's a fascinating movie. I really enjoyed it, but also wondered about the implications of it as well. What are your thoughts about that world?
Yeah. So as we spend more and more time in digital worlds, we're already doing this today. You go in and out of your messaging app into Instagram, into Facebook, into TikTok, into playing video games on your phone. If you play video games on your phone, you are a gamer. If you play video games on PC, you are equally a gamer. When it comes to the future of moving towards a Ready Player One, I think that that movie also makes a great point that video gaming is inherently social, and we are building communities offline and online, and those two things can be complementary, not as opposed to each other. So that's why today, in what's happening today in 2019, is that people are selling out conferences and stadiums to show up in person to enjoy the hobbies that they're engaging in online. That is a very key part, because I believe that humans will always want physical connection and interactivity. And I don't even think the best video game will ever replace that, but it could complement that and add to communities and build places of enjoyment and excitement and exploration that might not be available to everyone.
Well, that's a very good insight. Thank you for that. So you mentioned your fund a moment ago and your investment thesis, what you focused in. Can you drill down on that a little bit more about what more specifically do you look for in a startup? What criteria do they have before you engage with it?
Yep. We're a seed stage venture capital fund focused only on video gaming and esports. We don't invest in game studios. So we're not trying to find the next Fortnite. We don't invest in esports teams, so the competitive spot of what I mentioned. We only invest in technology, and that's driven by the fact that us as a VC team, me and my two partners, two of us are highly technical and one of us comes from finance, which is myself. And so we have a highly technical approach and background to which we evaluate these companies. We come in at seed, so we're rarely the first check that's coming into this company. We're comfortable leading rounds and following, and so we'll do both. Some of the attributes we're looking for is definitely a technical founder on the team, the initial signs of traction, and naturally the other things that people are looking for. But what we also look for is, does the founder deeply understand the pain points within video gaming and do they have a keen understanding of the actual total addressable market, or TAM, that they're going after? When I tell you that video gaming is a $152 billion industry, and then I tell you that Hollywood is 42 and music is 20, video gaming today is twice the size of Hollywood and music combined globally. And it's going to double over the next 10 years. And so when you see a founder that doesn't understand that that entire market is not his TAM, then that's something we like, is a founder who's like, I know exactly what my TAM is. It's not the whole industry. It's the specific narrow focus. That's something we look for.
Are there one or two startups you can call out that fit that thesis that maybe you've funded?
Absolutely. There are two examples that come to mind that we're really excited about right now. One of them is called Muxy. This allows for the interaction within streams on Twitch and YouTube and Mixer so that you can interact with the streamer and affect the actual gameplay via the stream you're watching. So if you go onto Twitch, you're watching a streamer play, they allow the tools to allow you to affect the very gameplay that's happening on screen. That type of two-way interaction versus just a spectator approach is really, really powerful technology. Muxy is a fantastic team. They're based out of Austin, Texas, and they're incredible and easy to work with and incredibly intelligent. The second one would be Shapeshift Gaming. Shapeshift Gaming is based out of Los Angeles and Israel. We're thrilled to be in their corner. This team is building the indexing of live content. What's happening today is you have YouTube, which is primarily historical content. Then you have Twitch, which is primarily live content. That said, it is tough to search for live content that's happening in real time. So using machine vision, they watch streaming across hundreds of streamers in real time, and you can search for someone who is currently live that fits your search criteria. So the indexing of live content is something we're very excited about as we move into what we're calling streaming 2.0, which is a new level of engagement around streaming technologies. So those are two that come to mind that we're very excited about.
Well, that sounds great. So you see a lot of startups in this space, and I'm sure there's a lot of challenges, regulatory, technical, marketing. What would you tell the initial startup to consider about this space with regard to the challenges they'll have to overcome?
The biggest concern we're seeing for startups right now is two things. One, that the investor base does not understand their market well enough. And so they spend a ton of time educating people on what is happening in video gaming instead of being able to talk about their company. So most of the pitch decks that startups are putting together that we see is half to 2/3 will just be about the market, and only 1/3 to 1/2 will be about their product. That doesn't happen in many other industries, where when I tell you I have an auto tech startup, you know exactly what the auto industry is, and you probably have a general sense of what I'm probably going to be getting at within the auto industry. But when I tell you that I have a video gaming technology, most people, one, don't really know what video gaming is, and two, don't really understand how many different technologies are available. So that's something startups are struggling with and they need to be keenly aware of. And that's also why we thought there was an opportunity to have a dedicated fund where we can quickly get to the core of what they're building instead of them spending time educating us. We're already up to speed. The second thing that startups are having to struggle with is that there's lots of tourist talent that's coming into the space trying to work in video gaming. And so weeding through that talent can be tough. People see the growth of the industry, they see how big it is, and they see where it's going. And they think just because they've been playing video games since they were a kid, they are qualified to work in this industry. Startups get a lot of this type of inbound interest, and it becomes a real time waster. So what we encourage startups to do is get through that list quicker in their hiring and get to the best talent as quickly as they can of people who actually have experience in this industry and understand this industry versus I'm a marketing expert over in a totally different industry, but I've been playing games on my phone. Therefore, I should be able to work in gaming. That is just not the case. And that's another startup thing that they're struggling with.
Very good. So you see a lot of subsectors and applications in this space, as it's a very large space. If you had to pick out one or two that are good immediate opportunities for investors to pursue, what would you call out?
There are two things coming up that I would highlight amongst many. are two things to watch as an investor. One is the evolution of streaming technology. The largest balance sheets on the planet own these streaming platforms. Microsoft owns Mixer, Google owns YouTube, Amazon owns Twitch, Tencent owns Douyu and Hua, and the list goes on. Streaming is about to move into the next gen, which is, as I kind of mentioned before with Muxy and Shapeshift, they are a part of that evolution of technology. So streaming and two-way media is a really, really core tenet of video gaming. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities in this space. And it's being monetized in incredibly new and creative ways that makes it, instead of 3 monetization options, it makes it 7. And that's really interesting. The second one I would point to is esports betting. Esports betting is the betting on competitions within the professional video game space. This is a very large industry that's moving very quickly. We already have an investment in this space through Ascot Entertainment. We're very bullish on the future of esports betting. And we believe that this is not necessarily only a US thing, but it's probably mostly going to happen outside the US. And that's great. And we're excited about that, given the regulatory environment in the United States is stringent and slowly changing, but not fast enough. And so esports betting is another market I would heavily watch as an investor.
Those sound like good opportunities. In the last few minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
I would say if you're a VC looking at this space, I would highly encourage you to look at the technologies instead of just the teams or the games. If you're a family office looking at this space, there is so much room to allocate an incredibly large amount of capital outside of games and outside of just teams. Esports teams are valued between 30 to 50 times revenue. Sports teams in the traditional sports market are valued around 5 times revenue. Video games are not too dissimilar to investing in boom and bust. And so I'd highly encourage investors to be looking at the picks and shovels of the future of video gaming. That's going to be a huge market. Secondly, is the stigma around video gaming is eroding very, very quickly. If 3 years ago, it was a very different market than it is today. 3 years ago, there was still a large stigma. But then over the last 3 years, culture is becoming more accepting of the video game market. And we're still only just getting started. And so as this stigma erodes quickly over the next 5 years, you're going to see an explosion of educational tracks for people to pursue careers in this space, professional tracks, technology platforms, and cultural integrations through music and art that incorporate video gaming into the core of what they're talking about. And you're already seeing that happen. I don't have time now to give the examples, but a few of these are like Ninja and Drake, or the Super Bowl, like hosting Ninja, and the list goes on. So there's a lot happening here, and I would watch it very closely.
Very good. Well, how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
So you can either reach us on our website through konvoy.vc, or you can go through our LinkedIns. You can find us on LinkedIn, Josh Chapman, Konvoy, LinkedIn, it'll pop up, or any of my partners on the fund. Those are the best ways to reach out to us. We also have a blog on Medium. If you do type in Konvoy Ventures and Medium, we have a blog there talking about team valuations and lots of other things around video gaming and the consumer.
Well, very good. We'll put those in the show notes. Thank you for joining us today, and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Thanks so much, Hall. Thanks for having me.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.